That was really quick. So, and we are live. Welcome back, everyone. We are facebook.com/live reality games, where we cover live reality games everywhere from Sequester to Big Brother to Columbus. And today we are covering back again Survivor Boston. For those joining us at home, we are joined, of course, with Nathan. Nathan, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. I am happy to be here and talk about another exciting episode of Survivor Boston. The strategy has not slowed down, and we're here to break it down.
It is just going forward, it's so fast. There's so much gameplay going on, and to help us recap the season and the episode, we are joined by a special guest, Molly. Molly, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So fill everyone in. How do you know Survivor Boston, Molly? What's your experience on the show?
So I played season 3 of Survivor Boston. I came in 10th place. I was probably the villain of the season. I was a little bit cracked. I think my friendship with my ex-best friend at the time, Tony, who is now really close with me again, kind of dictated a lot of the pre-merge, and then everything just kind of fell apart at merge. But it was a ton of fun. I love it. I got to help out a little bit with crew on season 4. And then, I've just been following along so far with everything in season 4. It's been a really fun season. So it's cool to see it in person versus how it actually is playing out in the edit.
Yeah, and Molly, you're kind of familiar with the other side of these games. A lot of these games, live games, if you will, take place live, and then you actually have some experience with the online version of games as well, correct?
Yes, I do. I've played 3 different series of the online games: Conquest, Voyage, and the Cube, Hives, change of name. And I host my own game called Utopia, which apps are just closing. If anybody wants to check out the Facebook page or apply, it's
a great little push right there. Thank you.
Of course, we love a good shameless plug. But I've kind of been playing these for the past year and a half online. I love them. I love the community. I love the people that I've met. I kind of like it more than College Survivor. College Survivor has a very different feel to it than the online games. But I've really found a place here in the community, which I love.
And these live games range everything from the College Survivor games to Big Brother Columbus, which Nathan is from, to Adventure Coco Pele, a rustic, and then Sequester, the big stuff. So speaking of big games on there, somebody that played a big game but was cut a little short and everything. Spoiler alert for anyone tuning in, it is not Big H tonight, but Anthony!
Hi!
I was trying to trick people. I was like, big, and then we got Anthony, see?
Aww.
Tricked the audience back home, so. Anthony, how are you doing tonight?
Tonight I'm doing really well. I just have my Bubba in my water here with me in case I get parched, but I'm doing good. It's been a pretty chill day. How's everyone else doing?
Fantastic.
Great.
Looks like we're joined by a few people at home. Jacob, thanks for tuning in.
Right.
Erica's here joining us. Anthony, legend.
I love you, Erica.
And then Jeff also tuned in. Jeff, hey, Jeff. So Anthony, just a quick rundown. This is all about you. We want to hear everything. So I guess initially, how did you hear about Survivor Boston?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I saw a flyer for Survivor Boston Season 2 hung up in one of the res halls on campus. And I looked at it and I was like, not for me. Don't think I'd do that. And then I became an orientation leader with Season 2 player Dan Riley. And he kind of just talked me into it. And as he was explaining the concept of Survivor, because I'd never seen the show, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I kind of want to do that. And then additionally, I might be getting ahead of it a little bit, but also Madison and I kind of had a pact that we would go out and audition together and hopefully get on the show together, which was what happened. So that was another kind of factor going into my experience on Survivor Boston.
Well, I am so glad you auditioned because Madison was my favorite pick from the initial get-go, and the two of you bonded so well. You did some really great confessionals, and just overall, Anthony, all of your confessionals with people were amazing. I was like, this would be a great TV show or something, like a little talk show host.
Thank you. Oh my god.
Let's see.
Yeah, I feel like you had so many storylines that were just like cut short. Like you and Madison cut short. You and Jess cut short.
You and Carly cut short as well. So
yeah, I will say one of them was kind of my fault, but
how were those? Was that your style of gameplay? Did you really try to focus on the one-on-ones with people, or were you trying to maybe get into something bigger, or did you just feel more comfortable one-on-one with people?
yeah, I think I felt pretty comfortable one-on-one with people. I remember this like very distinctly. It was, I think, one of my first confessionals. At the time, I was a sophomore, still new to Emerson, and I was very shy and timid. And I guess when I was coming into it, I really didn't want to be someone that was forgotten. But maybe that strategy wasn't the best at times. But that was kind of my approach. I really wanted to be someone that people like remembered and kind of not be thrown to the side. I think I was more afraid of being like looked at as someone, they're expendable. He can just be an easy vote, and I did not want that to be kind of how I didn't want that to be the perception of me as a player.
And I don't think that's how it came out. And Nathan, and Molly, I would like to say none of this cast is like under the radar player. Like everyone is playing a huge game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Jackie, but
I was saying, okay, I'll take that back. Besides, maybe Hallie. Okay, we'll throw some people under the bus now.
Yeah, until they get voted out, then it's all sympathy. But no, you were out front. You were playing hard. It's always appreciated. And I was wondering, like, did you coming into the game? Did you have a game plan with Madison? Did you want to be on? You said I think you wanted to be on different tribes. Is that right? From what I remember from that first episode.
Yes, I think we would, of course, love the idea that we were going to be on the same tribe. However, we thought it'd be best that we were on different tribes so that we can get information from both sides and kind of just come together to find out like what the whole game dynamic is. And with the way the kind of schoolyard pick went, it didn't turn out that way at first. And we were on the same tribe for just a little bit, but that was sort of the game plan, was to kind of hopefully be on separate sides, because when we went to our auditions, we didn't tell production that we were roommates at the time. So
you were trying to pull a fast one on Jacob and Charlie there. I see what's going on.
The truth is out.
Yes, and Austin would like more truth too. He wants tea all around. So, Erica mentioned you would be a great host for taking Ellen's job. So, Ellen,
I will.
You better watch out.
I will take Ellen's job.
So, initial cast wise, we were talking about how you got placed on the teams and everything. What was your first reaction being with everyone? Emerson is a smaller college out there compared to some of the other college survivors that we do cover. So a lot of people know of each other. And of course, we talked about you and Madison. Were you familiar with anybody else out there?
Yeah, so I knew Hallie coming into it because Hallie and I also worked together on Jumpstart, which is what Molly was referring to when she mentioned that we worked together. And I also knew Carly, because we're both in the same, I believe at the time we were both in the same program, and we also lived.
Carly.
Hi, Carly. And we lived on the same floor freshman year. I think her room looked directly into my room, so that was a little weird. But I'm trying to remember, who else did I know? Oh, I knew Brady because as orientation leaders, we had like a group of orientees with an orientation leader partner, and he was an orientee of my partner. So I knew who he was going into it. Who else? I knew of Austin because Austin was an RA and pretty well known around campus. So I knew of Austin. I knew of Swetha. Who else did I know?
But really, it sounds like you didn't have a ton of like tight connections, like maybe just a few people in the cast. You knew of people, but not directly bonded with them, I should say.
Yeah, it was definitely more like I knew of people rather than really close. Besides, maybe Carly and Madison were the closest people I knew.
And props from Jacob. He says you wouldn't have got through casting had they known. So good job for tricking them.
Now, of course, we have this season's twist of the Temple of Risk, and you chose not to play in the very first one. What was your thinking behind that? You did play in the later ones, but why didn't you play the first one?
So I feel like other people have said this. It's just I didn't want to kind of put a target on my back first day, even though, we didn't have anything to lose, but it sets such a first impression because, as we've seen with this season, first impressions are kind of everything. And I really did not want that on my back. And I also didn't really want to risk getting a disadvantage because I didn't know we didn't know what the challenge was at all until after everyone stepped forward. And I don't think I felt confident in myself that I would probably be able to do something at that moment. And kind of I wanted to scope out the competition. I kind of wanted to see, okay, who's going to do this? Who's ready to play, and kind of go from there.
Oh, and I just remembered, you were sussing people out from the get-go, with Finn and Zach. You and someone described you as being an observer. Is that how you see yourself as a player? Picking up info and vibes from people?
Yes. Is it always right? No.
Well, I remember the conversation you were talking about. Finn totally popped in and cut you off from talking and introducing yourself to people. And that put an initial target, which I felt on Finn, and it seems like this is a common factor with Finn. Was he kind of your first target per se, or?
I would say, yeah. I think Finn was pretty much that first target because that interaction kind of did leave a sour taste in my mouth. Just because I'm always used to not being cut off, but just I also just get really shy around bigger personalities in a room. So it was kind of both ways. I didn't speak up, and that kind of left that sour taste in my mouth. I was like, we need to get Finn out of here. He scares me. He's calculated. He gotta go.
Now, I feel like, Molly, you probably would have taken that first challenge. I think from watching a little bit of your gameplay and knowing your play style, I think you would have been first up being let's play this Temple of Risk. Do you think you would have?
Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I probably would have done every Temple of Risk if I was on that season. Just because, why not? The disadvantages from the episodes haven't been horrible. And it's kind of, you do have to come in dead last for that to happen. The thing that would have scared me about the first one is definitely just it's out in front. You have no idea what the advantage is going to be. You don't know if it's going to put a target on your back or not. But I think we saw with most of the cast doing it off the bat, go for it, show your competitor, do what you have to do. And if you don't win, you don't win. And if you lose, you are Marlon. You're not picked for tribe. But yeah.
I was super excited to see the twist of the season 2. I think Risk is a great factor to play with, and it can be throughout the season. So I'm super excited of that twist when it did come out. So
yeah, early on you lose Madison in your game. Molly, I actually want to ask you. So because you're in the org community, and secret alliances are a huge thing in the org community. So how are you supposed to play the secret alliance when you're on 2 separate tribes?
It's wild. And that's the thing that I think is pretty unique to smaller schools with college survivors. Hey, Anthony was saying, everybody at least kind of knows of each other. He was talking, he knew of Austin. Everybody knows of Austin. They're we call them M celebs, people that are just super well known around campus.
But pretty soon, all of you folks are going to be M celebs. That's for sure. Everyone has to be watching this.
Oh my God, love my fans, no joking. So it's kind of wild that you can have those strong cross-tribal connections because you can't really do that in orgs. Cross-tribal communication is breaking a rule. Versus in my season, you would meet up with people that you knew from different tribes, and you could get a very wide range of like view on the game just from knowing what was going on in other tribes, and you knew the people who were on those tribes, and you kind of knew like what you thought the dynamics would be, or you'd get that information from people. And like, again, you can't do that in org. So it's really cool to see like you have roommates who are playing with each other, or you have like close friends that are either separated or you know they're together, and that just creates like super big targets, or you have like more under the radar connections, which happened in my season. People that you didn't know really knew each other that well suddenly were coming together behind the scenes. So it's really cool to see how it's playing out in Anthony's season specifically, just because like that connection that people didn't know about was immediately cut. And then you have like really big connections that are just like really in just view of everybody. So it's been cool to see.
I felt after that came revealed that Madison was your roommate and she was voted out, I felt like this was Survivor like loved ones. And I was like, no.
It really was. I remember her coming home because I was like, okay, have fun at Tribal. Like, let me know what happens when you get back. And she got back. She's like, dude, I got voted out. And I fully did not believe her. Like, I'm like, you're joking, right? And she's like, no, I literally got voted out. And I could not believe it. Like, I was floored.
It's wild.
She was eliminated.
When Tony was voted out, he showed up to my room unannounced and was like banging on my suite door. And I was like, I came out, I was like, what's up? And he was like, I was voted out. Like, whoa, like gave me back the fake title. I was like, oh my God.
Aww.
But yeah, it's crazy because you just run into people on campus all the time and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, you're not in the game anymore. I was on jury and getting like lunch because I'd run into people in the DH with people still in the game. And I was like, this is so weird. Are we allowed to do this?
That's a good point. So, like, what was it like having Madison around you after round one?
That must be kind of awkward too. You're like, oh, I have to go back.
Did you talk game with her while she was out of the game?
Not really too much, because also we couldn't really talk to like pre-jury about game. So like, I mean, like I would tell her like, oh, we won or we lost, and like who went home. Like that's. Well, I mean, they were added to like the pre-jury chat, so she probably knew before I even got the chance to go back home and tell her. But we really didn't talk about the game too much, and like we had just a closer connection outside of Survivor. So like we always hung out, but like we kind of kept the game talk kind of out of the window. Also because like you get, especially, I feel like with Survivor Boston, even though I was in it for such a short amount of time, I felt like it consumed my entire life. I feel like Molly can attest to this. And I just needed moments where I was just not thinking about the game at all.
That probably is really nice to come home to somebody that understands what you just went through and understands the stress. So
it was really nice to have that like support there as well.
I think I remember after the episode that Madison did get voted out on, you said to your teammates, like, she was doing everything right. And she was making a game plan. She was building alliances. And this season has just been game player after game player after game player getting voted out and making strong moves. Did that concern you at all? Like, after that Madison vote, were you like, I have to tone down my game?
I don't think so. I think that wasn't something I picked up on, because I don't think I even knew the full extent to like who like orchestrated it, but like I knew like who was involved in the vote. That had always been kind of a mystery to me until this episode was aired, and I saw like Maddie was the one that like switched it around. I mean, good for her. Like, she played Madison when Madison was trying to play. Like, that's how this game goes. I just didn't think it'd be that fast.
That's actually so funny that you didn't know what it was until it started, which goes back to Emerson being a really small school. Maddie told somebody what was happening who told me. So as it was happening, I knew Madison was the target because she had said stuff that Maddie didn't like. And that's just how everything like communicates so fast. Like you get game information sometimes, like while you're in the game from people who aren't playing. Like Emerson's so tiny.
Yeah, Molly, are you like, is the rest of the school paying attention to the game as it's happening?
A little bit. I mean, it depends on like who's in the cast and like who they're friends with. Like none of my actually I had one suite mate when I was playing who was on crew for it, and the rest weren't. One had a roommate who had played like when they had lived together. So it's wild, especially like Survivor Boston. The more it's gone on, the more of like a niche community it's been at Emerson. So like those people are always super involved. But it's always like a thing people talk about. It's like, oh yeah, Survivor Boston. Like as soon as it started airing, it kind of blew up around Emerson, which is like why I really wanted to play it. I was like, oh my god, competition and attention, yes, my two favorite things. So yeah, everybody's to an extent aware of it.
So I want to talk about perhaps my favorite round of the game, which is the second one.
That's your favorite round so far?
I mean, how could it not be? It was so good. It was so good. Okay, because so first of all, like, is Brady as he's portrayed on the show? Was it just like we saw? What happened there?
What you saw was what you get in real life.
What was it like to play with Brady?
Absolutely chaotic. I kind of was. I felt like my head was like doing a complete 360 while playing with Brady, like at all times, because he was just like taking charge of everything, like group chat. Like, we got to get here, we got to get there, we got to do this and do that. And I'm like, even though I was sort of playing a little hard, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Like, I think that's a little too hard right now. But it was entertaining. Oh God, was it entertaining.
Brady is somebody, and I feel like I was talking about how orgs and College Survivor are very different. Brady is from orgs originally, and I think you can see why and like how that did not translate as well to College Survivor. Just because like you can get away with some of that shit to an extent, but the levels of playing hard are very different in real life versus behind a computer. And it was just chaotic.
I feel like, Anthony, you kind of picked that up towards the end. I think you knew that you were on the line of getting voted out, so you really like tried to make those rounds, and you really tried to like. And we'll talk, of course, what happened that last round. But really, at the end, it was a lot of you talking to a lot of different people, and I think you did what you could. So
yeah, I grind.
Now, you were kind of, along with Jess, the ones directing that vote in the second round. And eventually you kind of blamed her for turning it on Brady. Is that kind of like what stuck with you, that she made the call to get out Brady? Or is that why you wanted to get her out? Or was it more her connection with Austin?
I think it was more their connection with Austin than the Brady thing. I think, like, Brady, like, as I think Jess mentioned when they had their podcast, like, there were just things thrown into my head that Jess would kind of turn on me whenever they would get to a point where they were with Swetha, Maddie, Finn, Zach, and it was believable. They did start on in a tribe together, and I knew that. And Jess had told me like they didn't wish they left. So I had that information, and then kind of their connection with Austin made me like feel like they didn't have my best interests at the time. And I think it's just the classic case of paranoia that this game gives you, and like. It's hard because it's a game where you can't trust anyone, but you have to trust someone at some point, or else you can't get anywhere in the game. And I just think I let that get the best of me. And like I say it to this day, I regret that move so much.
That was the one thing you said too on your exit. You regretted voting Jess out, but you really liked the bonds that you did make in the game.
Yes.
So,
yes, like I love Jess so much outside of the game. We like are still great friends, and like I love and support them in everything they do. And like I feel that way with the whole cast, regardless if we worked together or not. Because like I had to learn that like separate game from personal life. So once I learned that, everything was A-okay.
Who would you have voted out instead of them?
I probably still would have gone for Austin. I'm sorry, Austin.
No, it seems like that's what everyone has been saying thus far. Like, if they got Austin out sooner, they probably could have gone further. Austin, I know you were watching earlier with us, but I think you were just a really big target.
Well, because then you wouldn't have been in the situation of having someone you felt like you couldn't work with in a swap.
Exactly. I think that's when I realized I messed up. Because I think about it this way, like literally just replace Austin with Jess, we would have been golden.
Because then you would have voted out Carly, or
I think they should have like taken Carly with them and picked
one or the other. You would have been able to stick together, though, is just what you needed to do at that swap point.
Exactly. That's literally Dustyn put it like that's most likely what would have happened had it been Austin that round instead of Jess.
But it's always, as we all know from playing games, it's the coulda, woulda, shouldas. You're like,
exactly.
I could have done this. I should have done that. But I think we got a little ahead of ourselves. I want to talk about your. We're skipping all over the place. This is perfect. There's no real gameplay here. There's no game plan. We're just chatting. I'm surprised. I was excited to see you play at the Temple of Risk that time, especially knowing that because you were forewarned that the other people playing would know that you're playing. Correct?
Yes.
What was your thought process going into that? Why did you take this as your time to go in for a risk?
I think I'm pretty positive this was the round before the swap. I kind of felt like something was coming up, and what an opportunity to try to get something that could help me in a future round at this Temple of Risk, regardless of who shows up. But I kind of was also thinking along the lines of how can I make sure it's people that I know I can trust, that kind of goes to not like rat me out. Because as we saw with Brady, even though that was in secret, Brady opened his mouth to Jackie, and we found out that he did it and that he did get the half of the immunity idol. But back to the Temple Risk we're talking about with me, Anissa, and Carly, I knew I needed to kind of make a move in that type of sense, and I texted my group chat with Big H and Anissa to be like, does one of you want to come with me? And Anissa said, I'll go. And then Carly was the only other person there, and I think it just worked out because even though Carly and I were on two different tribes, she was still an ally for the future for me at that point.
So I'm interested. You brought up the fact of a group chat. I'm picturing in my mind, I can see Facebook Messenger and like group chat after group chat with different people. How many group chats were there? Because we did hear about the big one that Big H wasn't a part of earlier. So I can see bigger ones. But did you have like group chats with like everyone in the cast, or?
I think there was just the like main Katai that I tried to clean my glasses. It did not help. The main Katai group chat that wasn't like strategic at all, and then the Brady group chat.
Did that continue after Brady got voted out?
I don't remember. It was long ago. It was so long ago. I don't remember if that chat ever like. I want to say maybe he actually left it. I could be mistaken, but we had that, and then I believe I had one with Big H and Anissa, and I think that was it.
Molly, you have group chats in these college survivors and in orgs. Is there a right way to address them? Do you want to avoid being the person that makes them, or do you want to always be the person that makes them?
I've heard so many different things. I know a lot of people who are like, I'm never going to make the group chat. I don't care if I'm the person who makes a chat or not. It's just like, make sure you do the proper way to set it up. Like, talk to the people first. Don't just add random people. I was viewing a game, actually, like an org, and they didn't ask anybody. They added like 4 people to this group chat, and they were like, we're going to be the final 4, blah, blah, blah. Did not turn off chat history, and then added a 5th.
Oh.
I was like watching happen. Like they were like sending updates to the VL, and I was like, oh my God. So just like, yeah, people tend to shy away from being the person to make them because they think like, oh, it's gonna get out that I made this chat. But as long as the people there like actually into it, like it is what it is. But yeah.
Turn off chat history.
Turn off chat history, or just make a new chat if you're adding something, and always ask the people first if they're okay being in a chat with those specific people. I did that once. I made an alliance chat with 5 people, but only cleared it with like 3 of the 4 I was adding. But it worked out. So.
Sometimes you do have to take a risk. Thinking back to different college ones, I think there was a guy in Michigan that said, "Oh, I can't believe we're getting those 2 girls out," and he sent it to the group chat as opposed to the small 3 chat there was a lot of recovery that had to be done, Mitch. So
I did that too. I was in a 3 and I was in a 5, and I was like, "Oh my god, Jarrett is so pissed at me," and I said that in the 5, which Jarrett was in, and I was like, "Guys, I leaked all this stuff. He's so mad," and he's like, "What?"
That's okay.
Yikes.
Look at me.
So a good thing, Anthony, you stayed clear of that. So good job.
Mhm.
So then I think we're at the swap at this point, right? So what is it like? What was your mindset going into the swap? Were you, did you think you were set up well? I mean, you had just...
You were the first one to draw a buff too. You were like,
you were, yeah.
Gonna tone here.
Yeah. Well, again, I really didn't understand, like I haven't watched Survivor at that point yet. So like I didn't understand like what the concept of the swap was. Someone explained it to me. I'm like, okay, like I don't like that, but I guess we have to do it.
Nobody likes swaps.
When I tell you, my heart like just dropped out of me when I pulled out the Fatia buff, and the fact that I was first and had like 13 other buffs I could have drawn, and of course it was the one I did not want. And from that moment on, I kind of figured, I feel like I'm doomed here. I feel like at the end of the day, at that point, I think I was so tunnel visioned at the swap that I like disregarded anything that wasn't going to benefit me. Like I didn't like see any other avenues, but that I could take in that swap situation. I kind of felt like I was like on paper, like at the bottom, but I knew I had it in with Carly, so that was a good one to have. And then pulling in Finn to kind of help us with the first vote was kind of a blessing in disguise. But then after that, it was kind of like every man for himself at that point.
I think the Temple of Risk thing really paid off for you too, to build that relationship with Carly and to have like that game talk you did with Anissa as well.
Exactly.
I felt like in my mind watching the episode play out, I really thought you were going to pick Carly up from that. Be like, hey, we worked together in this. Let's work going forward. And it just never happened. And in my mind, you know how we make predictions each week, Nathan?
Mm-hmm.
Like this was the first time I was like, I see this happening, and it didn't go anywhere. So
yeah, Carly and I definitely had more conversations than you all saw. Like, I do think had we been able to get past my boot like completely fine, I think we would have been a strong alliance at the merge.
If not, she can be one of your rotating talk show hosts, which is totally fine. So
Exactly.
It was kind of surprising that she didn't flip on her original tribe there, because it seems like she doesn't have a place in that tribe, but she's still voting with them even through this vote.
Yeah, kind of like I was shocked too, because like starting like with the Austin vote out, like she was so crucial in that, like trying to make sure that I or Big H didn't go. And we were getting out a player that we thought would be a huge threat come merge. And quite honestly, I thought at the time that Austin was like hardcore conspiring against Big H and I, but in the episode, he kind of wasn't too much until it got to the point where it was him or someone else where he had to throw me under the bus. So definitely that's where my like tunnel vision came in that portion of the game. I think I was just so focused on pushing Austin in front of me that I kind of lost focus of everything else around me, which I think kind of played into my elimination. But again, like, yeah, I was surprised that she didn't flip. She gave me reasons. I understand them, but I'm like, you should have flipped. You should have flipped. But
now you mentioned the Austin situation. Did you see a similarity with how you approached the Austin vote and how you approached the Jess vote? Because from when I was watching, I kind of saw this similar, like, kind of flippant mindset of like, oh, I don't think I can work with them, and I don't think I can trust them, so they're just gonna be gone. And you did, and you had that tunnel mindset. Did you see that way? That there was any similarity between the two votes?
Not really, because I think with Jess more in the sense, it wasn't a full, like, I couldn't trust them. They were someone that, like, I had still, like, I'm going to jump back for a second. Because, like, going into that round and going into that meeting with Hector and Anissa, my intentions were never to flip the vote to Jess. It was kind of to sort of just, like, I still want Austin out, but I think we need to keep our eye on Jess, because I don't know how much I can trust them now. But then as the talks continued, because you only saw, like, what, maybe 3 minutes of a 30-minute conversation, and, like, we were going back and forth on Austin or Jess, and then ultimately landed on Jess, which, like, I kind of felt like at that time I didn't understand the impact of what I was doing, until maybe, like, well after the game. I was like, oh shit, maybe I did something there. I'm like, it's too late now, just wait till it comes out. But with Austin, it was kind of more like the second I felt like I couldn't trust him, like, I did not had any desire to work with him. And I think that just came in with that tunnel vision. I think had I been more open and fluid, I think Austin and I could have worked together. I think Austin and I could have been quite an unlikely pair and probably a powerful pair, because I think we both have really strong social games, and I think putting those together just will create absolute chaos.
To back up just a moment, Carly, according to this post, she thinks that you guys were actually talking prior to the Temple of Risk too. A little bit behind the scenes knowledge there.
She is right. I do remember this now.
Oh my gosh, how much were you talking to people from other tribes, Anthony?
It seemed less than other people until we got to the end, and then I know with the editing, it's always a little bit different. But yeah, like, how much cross-tribal did you have?
Pretty much, I think, only with Madison, Carly, and Marlon. And yeah, I talked to Anna, but that was after the swap. So it was still cross-tribal, but just we were just flip-flopped at that point. But
I'm interested to see how Anna's going to take the comments that you did. I feel like we're getting a little bit of a build-up. Maybe Anna's going to, like, come back at the Alliance, because it seems like she has an epiphany. She realizes after talking to you, hey, I'm at the bottom, and I don't like being at the bottom. So I'm excited that your words are still not out of the game yet. So I'm hoping
my impact.
Exactly.
This episode felt like a merge almost, because there was so much cross-tribal talk.
Oh yes. That week was, I mean, I didn't know, like, who else was doing cross-tribal, but it was just a crazy week in general. Like, and I think you could tell by the way I was acting, because I was very much, like, over the top. Like, I cannot go home right now.
And some fans at home didn't want you to go home either. We got Juju here saying he thinks you still are possibly coming back. He's also a huge fan of Molly. So there we go.
I love Juju.
We got some fans in the house. And then Austin does agree that you two would have been a great pair, by the way. So he can come on your talk show as well, I guess.
He's always welcome. Everyone's welcome.
Anthony, I also want to ask you about Big H, because it seemed like you said you trusted him the most out of anyone. Did you have any idea how close he was to Anissa? Did you consider at all throwing him under the bus come this last round?
So, again, I think at the time I was probably lying to him that I trusted him the most, but I did grow to trust him the most. Absolutely love that man. Sweetest person I've ever met in my life. Did not know how close he and Anissa were. it was really interesting to learn how they were viewing the original Katai tribe and pairs of duo. Like, I didn't think about that at all. And sort of that's why I didn't clock them at all. And I wish I did, because like as you saw towards the end of our time together on Katai, like there was kind of a trio of us like kind of building up, but I didn't know I was on the bottom of that. In my perception of it, I thought Anissa was at the bottom of that trio, but clearly that was not the case. And it's interesting you bring that up, because I remember a conversation with Carly that she said, Anthony, if you want any shot of staying, you need to throw Hector under the bus. But I was too blindly loyal to him that I couldn't do that to him in that moment. And I was also thinking about the repercussions that could have had if it got back that I threw two of my team members under the bus to get voted out. Like, I felt like at that point no one would trust me, and it seems like a lot of people didn't. Like, Jackie really didn't trust me, Maddie didn't trust me at all. Like, good for them, but I didn't have that perception of me at the time.
Right, you gotta respect that though. You're like, they were on to me. They got to me.
They were.
Quicker than I got to them, so. Let's see here. Anissa's with us tonight as well. You guys are
Hi, Anissa.
And then Austin's like, oh my gosh, Anissa's here. Yes. And then you have props, Molly, on your eyelashes.
I was literally just talking to Erica before this. These are magnetic eyelashes. I'm obsessed with them. Anyway.
Big H is here too.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
There we go. Aw. Big H says he hated lying to you.
My heart hurts.
I feel like you could have had a good argument against Big H if you were like, he's too smooth. If no one's bringing his name up, maybe you should consider it.
But I like the fact that he stuck with you, and you stuck with him. You voted for Swetha in that instance. You didn't try to throw him under the bus, so I think that's really...
And he didn't vote for you either, which, if you're in that situation, I don't think I could do that, honestly. Like, I think I would vote for the person who's potentially in trouble.
And I am very grateful that he stuck with me in that moment. And, like, even though he was lying to me, like, I knew in that moment, like, I had someone in my corner. And I think that made my elimination, like, less, like, gut-punching. Even though knowing Carly full well turned on me. Like, I was sitting there, I was like, come on, Carly, come on, Carly, come on, Carly. Then the second Jacob was like, 6-person vote out? Like, damn it. So that was kind of what was going through my head in that moment.
But the best you were hoping for really was a tie.
Yeah. And like, that was sort of a reason why Carly didn't want to tie it, because if it tied and then they tied again, it of course goes to rocks. And Swetha and I would then become safe, and then Hector, Carly, Finn, and Maddie would have been vulnerable to go home. And I get she didn't want to. She felt like she couldn't risk her game for me. She and I have talked about this. If I do believe if Carly were in that situation, I would go to bat for her, and I probably would have gone to rocks for her.
Wow.
But she and I have talked about this.
Carly's chiming in as well. But no, you don't go to rocks in games unless it's a do or die situation.
I've been twice.
You went twice to rocks?
Yep. I did not get rocked out either time, so it was in my favor. But yeah.
But also going to rocks is so fun. Like, it's just the chaos in me. It's the chaos in me.
Because when you go to rocks and orgs, they normally like put it on like a wheel and they spin that online. And I'm not lying. The last time I went to rocks was like a couple weeks ago, and it was like a second away from my name. And I was supposed to be like, I went to rocks on accident. Like,
I was watching that one too. I did see that happen.
I don't think I could ever go to rocks in most situations.
Unless it was like game ending, if you don't vote a certain person out or something. Like, I don't think I could either.
I've only been during live nights though, which I think has affected it, because like after like a couple hours or like an hour where you're just like everything is really, really fast paced, you're just like, fuck it, like let's go.
Okay. I take this back. I instigated a 5-way tie.
5?
And it was all me. Nobody knew what was going on.
Wow.
So, anyway, that was my
I
favorite.
will say though, I do agree with Carly. Sorry, Anthony. I think at final 12.
Yeah, we were final 12.
Yeah, final 12, right before merge. I think like everybody's like merge is coming up. At that point, like I have been like, okay, merge, new life. Like, let me see what happens after this. I might be at the bottom right now, but maybe I won't be in a few rounds.
Yeah, and like I totally understood where she was coming from, but of course, like in that moment, it was for me the only way I was going to make it out of it alive. So, like, of course, that's where like I was like, oh damn it, but again, would have made for a fun episode again because I feel like it just would have kept up with the way this season's been unfolding.
I know. I don't think up until this point of like your episode, there's ever been Rocks in Survivor Boston. So I'm like, come on, guys, get it together, go to Rocks, or don't get it together. Opposite of.
So I don't know how much it was elaborated on the episode. Why did you want Swatha out over Maddie? What was your relationship like with them on the new swap tribe?
So I don't think I talked to Maddie at all during the swap, if I remember correctly. I talked to Swatha once, and it was during the time we were going to vote Austin out. I was informed that I would go into this meeting sort of just kind of feel the vibe out about Swatha because I didn't know if she was ready to turn on Austin at that point. So I get into the meeting, and as we're talking, I'm getting notifications on my phone that I'm not seeing until after the meeting saying Swatha knows that the vote's going to be Austin. I just sat there lying to her. Had I known, I would not have done that. And Carly had to do a lot of damage control to like fix that. Because that was something I don't know if that was something you really saw in that episode, but
It wasn't. It was the first conversation I felt like you weren't like genuine with someone. Like you had a bunch of walls up, and she says in her confessionals too that something just wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
And it was clearly different than any other conversation you had with anybody else at this point. So.
Oh yeah, and like I was one of the I guess we could call it conspirators now of the Austin Swatha alliance that didn't exist. I fully did believe that they were like in the alliance. I really thought they were like gaming hard together. Again, was not true.
Of course, they walked in together.
Exactly, they walked in, and I said, like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then that's kind of like, and then other people were noticing it too, and then we're like, "Is this something we should be worried about?" And I guess same thing with Austin. Like I was kind of so tunnel vision that I didn't allow myself to open up with Swatha at all. Like I went in there fully like, this is game and nothing else. Like I didn't get the time to know her and like kind of just connect with her on a like personal level. Like
I think Denise is still on the fact that those two are working together. Like
honestly, but
it was so secret they didn't even know about it. So that's how good it was.
God, I'll never live that down. But anyways, and I was kind of targeting Swatha because I also saw I felt that Swatha was like just this big social threat as well as much as Austin was at that point. And I felt like Swatha wouldn't have had my best interests. But I feel like watching the episode, maybe had I tried to target Maddie, something would have worked out. Maybe Finn probably would have flipped again. I don't know. It's again coulda, woulda, shouldas, but that was sort of my reasoning behind Swatha. But I do wish that I had talked to Swatha in a more like personal way in that conversation, and also wish I had talked to Maddie at all in the game. Because Maddie is an amazing person, and I am obsessed with her.
So, truth be told, it seems like Austin and Swatha were actually dating at the time. And then they had a child. So,
Proud of them.
Big recap episode here for everyone. Big recap. So, congratulations, Austin and Swatha. So, putting that out there.
If Swatha had been voted out, what was your next move, and what was your plan for the merge?
Oh God. I think this is why I say maybe I would have switched it to Maddie, because Maddie probably would have been someone I was gonna like try to target next. Like it was definitely like between Maddie, Zach, and Finn that were like the main people that I was like, they're not gonna benefit my game. I think for my game I need to get them out now because they're not gonna help me at all. So I think that's kind of what I would have done. I don't know what would have happened after that though. Oh God, I don't know. I really don't. Now I'm going to be thinking about it all night.
Don't think about it.
I don't mean to be triggering.
You're bringing back memories. Speaking of bringing back memories, thoughts about the challenges. We didn't really touch on any of those. Like you had some strong points in there. Like I remember, especially with like Seal the Bacon.
Yes, that one.
You didn't score your first point, but you made the game-winning point.
Yes.
And you had that great moment. Everyone fell down at the end. It was really nice to see.
Yeah. After that, after the first, my first round of Still the Bacon, oh boy, was I embarrassed. I was like, oh, of course that would happen to me. And this is why I say I think Austin and I would have been a powerful pair, because we got paired up in that situation and we won it for our team. And I think just he and I when we worked together, it would have just been pure awesome gameplay. But in that winning moment, I felt proud of myself, and I was just proud of our tribe overall, because we had just been on a 2-week losing streak. So to finally just breathe for a weekend and have the weekend off, oh, it felt so good.
Any thoughts about the other challenges? Anything stick out to you?
I want to talk about the Temple of Risk challenge I did a little more. I thought that was so fun.
24 minutes right there.
Hated that I was the first to drop. I should have shut up, because I think if I wasn't talking to Carly, I think I was talking to Carly at that time.
Yeah.
If I wasn't talking to Carly, I would have stayed in. But because I opened my mouth to just talk strategy, it didn't work out for me at all. But it was still a really fun challenge. I'm surprised that I lasted that long. I didn't think I was going to last too long. Apparently, I heard production, they couldn't even get 5 minutes in on that challenge. And the fact that I got 24 minutes and then Anissa and Carly got 45 minutes? That's impressive.
I think they were close to an hour at some point. Besides, Anissa dropping 2 seconds in. The host was put the ball on. She drops it immediately and then scrambled to put it back on.
Would have been so good for me. I'm trying to think what other challenges were good for standouts.
Well, Swatha kind of assigned you to throw the balls for the last challenge, and that kind of
that
back.
That was such a funny confessional of Swatha just talking about how excited she was for the puzzle, and then Anthony planned this. She wanted
Yeah. That's all. I just thought Swatha was trying to get me, but she wasn't.
I love Survivor Boston challenges. My favorite challenge I've just ever done in anything was one from my season where it was basically the floor is lava and 20-degree weather in the dark. We're all freezing. We're all hating our lives, just trying to get across this tennis court on things of cardboard. And it was so dumb, but it was so much fun.
Also the I don't remember what it was called, but it's the one where we were blindfolded and we ran across the a part of the Boston Common, and Hector almost running into people. I thought that was hilarious. All I remember from that challenge is walking and hearing the screams of Isabella. Because she was just walking around watching people, And when people were starting to run into her, I just heard her scream, and I'm like, is Isabella okay? And yeah, that's all I remember from that challenge. And of course, the first challenge where Jess and I risked it for the biscuit together on the puzzle, that was a fun one because we won that challenge.
I don't think it's happened yet, but if you want to consider it, we can always like do a tattoo for all of Survivor Boston, like risk it for the biscuit. Like that could be the.
I'm down.
Just throwing that out there for
Sign
you.
me up.
Is that the price to like get back, get a return appearance? You have to get a tattoo.
If you want to play All Stars, you have to just get like Survivor Boston just like across your back. Like
It's a tramp stamp.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Survivor Boston tramp stamp. It needs to be your original logo. Like that's the only way to play.
And speaking of which, Anthony, would you play Survivor Boston or another live reality game again?
I probably would. I probably would play Survivor Boston again. And it's actually, I've actually done some online games as well. So the one I played was Legacy. That was really fun to do. But it was such a hard transition to go from a college in-person game into an online game. But I love the org community. It's been very welcoming, and although I've only played like 1.5 games because I played like an Alias Big Brother game like recently, but they've all been so sweet, and I've been applying to some new ones. Why can we get Molly for you? But because I've been missing it. I have missed the gameplay, and I think I've grown so much as a person because I was a 19-year-old. Now I'm 21, and I've grown as a person. I think I've grown as a player, so I think I am just ready to kind of refine the skills I had in season 4, because I think I was kind of loose and wild, and I think with growing and refining that, I think I am probably going to be a dominant force in whatever I play next.
Hashtag Growment.
Roman.
Growment.
Watching players come back. Survivor BC, they did a live one. They spent like 5 days out in the woods in one of the initial seasons. I want to say I'm blanking on the name, but I think Jen, she was initial player when she was 16. And then to see her come back when she's 22. Like she's back and she's in control of the game. And it was a live game that was filmed live, so anybody can go to Survivor BC and check that out, British Columbia. So it was really interesting to see her development too. In her confessional, she's like, I played this game, I learned so much, and I think coming back and doing another game for anyone, especially in Anthony's position, Molly or Nathan or even myself, going back into a game, you grow. You have that growth, like you said, and it's really interesting to see how that develops and influences the game.
Yeah, my Big Brother Columbus season was my third live Big Brother game, and having done it after like years after my first one, it did not only so much better, but like just completely different approach to the game. Like you're able to quell your anxiety in a different way, be more secure in how you approach the game and your own strategy. So I hope you do. I hope to see you again, and whether it's Survivor Boston or something else.
Thank you.
Yeah, for everyone out there, the group is called LRG for Live Reality Game Casting. We have everything from Melbourne Survivor to the Totem Pole casting to Sequester casting their next season too. So make sure you check it out if you are interested. We're kind of on like the wrap up part now. Anthony.
Yeah, Dustyn, what's happening next week? What's going on? There's a school.
There's everything happening next week. It's
school
like
gym test.
Nobody knows. It's gonna. Whew. Yeah, I'm curious. So from my experience, I don't recall this from Boston. Molly, Anthony, can you fill us in like this next challenge? What's it going to be? I guess it's a physical?
Oh, the
Endurance
pacer
challenge?
test?
Pacer test.
Oh my God.
Is that where you like run back and forth?
Yeah, it's that one. And there's like a beep, and you have to before the beep.
Thank God I got eliminated before this time. When I found out they did the Pacer test, I was like, you know what? Thank God.
That's terrible. So excited to see it. Dustyn, who's in trouble? Who's in trouble next?
Hallie is in trouble. I think, generally speaking, I think Carly always sees herself. I think, but I don't know. Like, it's a merge, so anybody can, like...
Is it for sure merge?
It looked like it. Everybody was wearing the same color.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
said, you made it to merge.
Maybe-
Unless Jacob and Charlie could totally be pulling a fast one on us, too.
That's
So,
what they love to do.
not holding that against them, so...
I feel like the person, if it's a merge,
Mhm.
I'm worried about Carly. Because she's an easy name to throw out that everyone can kind of get behind.
That name's been written down so much before, so...
Like, her own tribe doesn't want her, the other tribe doesn't want her. Sorry, Carly. I like you and I'm rooting for you, but I'm worried about you.
You would have picked up Carly just fine in the merge, so... It was just my thought process, as we talked about earlier, too. Big shout out to everyone joining us here tonight. Jacob, Carly, Erica, Austin. I'm
So
going to see
many.
people that I don't meet
Thank you.
Juju, Anissa. Did I say Austin before? Yeah, okay. There. Okay, so many people on tonight. It was hard to keep track of everyone. Jeff joined
That's
us.
fun.
Everyone. Super fun. Molly, any final questions for Anthony here, or...
Oh, I don't think I have any questions for him. I feel like I know the season pretty well, but no, just thank you guys so much for having me. This was so much fun.
And Molly's game Utopia is casting, so anybody looking, especially during this COVID time, online reality game, Molly does host. Anthony, any final thoughts or anything?
Yeah, I just want to say that this season was absolutely stellar, and I loved everyone I played with, and like Jacob and Charlie cast a amazing cast for this season, and I'm just so happy that I get to share this with everyone, that we get to have this like kind of like the most competitive season like title for us. Like, I think it just speaks volumes to how we are as players, and I'm happy I got to share my time with everyone there, and thank you all for just doing this for this season. I think it's really cool, and thank you for having me as well.
Yeah, well, it's been so good to talk to you, and so sad that your journey was cut short. But yeah, this has been a fun hour rehashing your game.
Oh, it's been really fun. I was looking forward to this for so long.
At least we're there for that, at least, right? So, thank you everyone for joining us. Molly, Nathan, Anthony, myself. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Survivor Boston, next episode on YouTube this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live comments coming in, so make sure you check it out. Till next time, folks.